Good morning, everybody. I want to talk to you about a couple things today, one of which I cannot talk about on YouTube, I don't think. Um, we'll be starting by talking about the sanctuary city laws basically crumbling to the ground because, while the Democrat cities are like rallying against it, they're saying that we can't take anymore. We're full. We're going bankrupt. It's literally destroying the local economies. Um, it's at a point now where it's unsustainable, and they're pushing back against the Obama administration in places where they claim that, for example, Texas is busing people in. They're claiming that it's Texas's fault. It's getting wild, which is total nonsense. I'll explain why. I mean, you have what 5 million people enter the country illegally, and they're saying 12 buses from Texas are the cause of the problem. Like, yeah, come on, give me a break, right? I'll be talking about this after we jump to Epoch TV. We'll also be talking about, let's just call them the Obama files. Um, you might have seen, for example, the recent article on Barack Obama detailing his wonderful imagination. His not wonderful, his very colorful imagination. Let's call it. You might have seen also the recent trailer that Tucker Carlson published on his YouTube page, where he's interviewing a man who claims that he smoked crack and had gay sex with Barack Obama. And this is more than just a sex scandal of a former president. This is something much deeper. It ties into the media establishment basically ignoring a major story. It ties into the defrauding of the American people. I'll be explaining all this. Um, Anyways, let's first start by talking about what's happening with the border crisis. So right now you have sanctuary cities that are flipping on the mass migration narrative. They're saying, again, we're full, we're going bankrupt, it's not working, and this is where things are at. Here you have Fox News. It says, Texas sends 12th migrant bus to LA. Oh, Lord help us, the 12th bus. 5 million people enter the country legally. The 12th bus. Yeah, give me a break. But they're saying the city may seek legal action despite approving sanctuary status. In my opinion, this is just a ridiculous false argument. I think they're not focusing on the big issue here. The issue is not it's not about sanctuary cities. That if you claim you're a sanctuary city and you're saying, hey, first come, first serve, come here and we'll give you whatever you want. We won't deport you. Technically, what the sanctuary city laws mean is that if you're an illegal alien and you commit a crime, the police cannot hand you over to ICE, immigration enforcement. ICE, this is actually important. ICE has the databases on all the foreign names, foreign individuals, and so on. If you come from Haiti, if you come from Ecuador, if you come from China, if you come from Russia, they are coming from all these places, by the way, you're going to be on those databases. But you're not going to be on the New York City database. You're not going to be on the LA database. You're not going to be on the American database, nonetheless. And so what happens is these people come across, as I showed in my special feature, Border Deception, they oftentimes discard their IDs, like their driver's licenses or passports or whatever else. They discard them on the Mexico side of the border. If you go there, literally the ground is just covered with them. Their flight papers, because they're taking flights and so on, their bus tickets, they're all just scattered all over the ground. And if you watch my special feature, they also have like the United Nations pamphlets of how to illegally enter America and so on. Those are all over the ground too. Now, the reason they do that is because they're oftentimes defrauding the amnesty system. They're claiming they come from a country that has amnesty protection, when in fact they usually did not. And so when they come across, they're like, papers, please, prove that you're from Venezuela or a country that actually has, could get amnesty in America, and not from like Haiti or I think they are actually on the list of amnesty ones. Prove you're not from like Mexico, for example, which doesn't have amnesty protection. And they're like, oh, I can't. My papers got lost on the way. It's been a very difficult journey, but my name is so and so. They'll make up a name, and they're like, fine, come on in, and they get amnesty protection, or they go on the wait list for it. They send them to New York, they send them to Texas, they send them wherever else. Once they get there, If they get a DUI, if they're driving drunk, if they commit a crime, if they, beat somebody up or anything short really of like, murdering someone typically. If they steal something, I've known people, for example, who run just criminal rings paying homeless people to steal things. I've known of cases like this. They don't get charged for it. There's almost nothing you can do, because when the police arrest them, they can only hold them for so long. And once they let them go, who do they give a ticket to? It's a ticket to John Doe. It's a ticket to an unknown individual. It's a ticket to an illegal alien. Normally, if you want to charge them, you'd have to put it through ICE, which has information on who this individual is, and regardless, will probably deport them. Because the sanctuary city laws are trying to avoid that process, they eliminate that side of things. And so you have these people who basically literally get away with crime. Which is really, I mean, that in itself should be a real scandal when it comes to government policy, that they're exposing the American people to, criminal activity with no punishment and no repercussions and no real way to defend yourself. I'd say it's a dereliction of duty. I'd also say it's really a breaking of the social contract. One of the fundamental reasons of why we have government in the first place is to provide that kind of protection. And if they're failing to provide that role, what are they even there for? What are they doing? I do think there could possibly be legal cases around this in the future, but that's the nature of the sanctuary cities. They're saying, how dare Texas send 12 buses over the past 3 years to L.A., and they're ignoring the fact that people have been mass migrating anyways. Let me show you. It says Texas sent a 12th bus filled with migrants to Los Angeles, which arrived Monday morning, nearly a week after city leaders voted to pursue legal action against the Lone Star State. I'll explain why that's nonsense as well. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass's office said the bus arrived at 7:15 a.m. on Monday, blah, blah, blah. It says Fox in L.A. reported the bus was carrying migrants, including 23 men, 20 women, 21 children, all from Colombia, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Russia, and Venezuela. A little over 60 people, right? A little over 60 people. You have 5 million people who've illegally entered the country, hundreds of thousands a month. And LA's making a stink about 60 people. And LA is, of course, one of the big destinations because you have the San Diego region border crossing just a bit south of them, and a lot of those people head straight to LA. Most of the illegal aliens going to LA aren't coming from Texas. 12 buses, and they can fit about 60 people per bus? Yeah, right? Give me a break again. But it says this: the bus arrived nearly a week after the Los Angeles City Council voted unanimously to pursue a lawsuit and criminal probe against Texas over its migrant busing program. They're going after Florida, on the East Coast, different states under similar accusations, like the Martha's Vineyard thing, if you remember that. Was that Florida or Texas? Anyways, you have these issues taking place. I'll tell you why it's utter nonsense. It's because if these states... First of all, if one state cannot really sue another state. That was one of the big things that came up during the elections of 2020, where when Texas, Ken Paxton, which I'll explain in a bit on the nighttime show, Ken Paxton, the Attorney General in Texas, who's being impeached right now, by the way, when he was challenging the elections, he filed a lawsuit against Pennsylvania, arguing that Pennsylvania did enough funny business in the elections that it damaged Texas, the interest of Texans in a federal election, of which, of course, Texas was a party of interest. Obviously, Texas, being part of the American Union, has an interest in election integrity and things that would impact the outcome of an election if there's funny business among the local politicians. The Supreme Court throws it out with no standing. And part of that argument was the nature of whether one state can sue another state. You're going to have the same thing happening with California and Texas. They're going to have to go through the Supreme Court because, what are they going to do? Call in the Texas governor to go show up in L.A. to appear before a L.A. judge? No, it goes to the Supreme Court when it's a legal dispute between two states. They might do some, show trials or something like that, where they hold it locally in LA, but that has no jurisdiction outside of California. You know what I mean? It's not going to do anything. If they try to do that, it's just going to be a big, a big circus, basically. They're putting on a circus show there. That being said, if they do pursue things, though, I'd say this is actually going to be bad for them because it establishes legal precedents. If they're arguing that busing illegal aliens across state lines is a crime, which I'd actually argue it is, that's going to incriminate the entire system that's at play here. The NGOs that are trafficking people across state lines under the auspices of the United Nations and of the State Department. Because, again, it's refugee resettlement and it's the IOM under the United Nations running most of these programs. And they're doing it with funding mostly from the State Department and with heavy coordination with the State Department, including liaison offices, for example, that work hand in hand to facilitate this process. These people are not just, walking from San Diego to LA. They're not just walking from Texas to New York or, to Washington, D.C. They're getting bused there and even flown there on military aircraft coordinated by the Biden administration. And if they want to argue that Texas sending 12 buses with like 60 people each to LA, and that's like the scandal of the century, and that Texas is responsible for like the 5 million people who've illegally entered the country and are causing the real problem, it's utter nonsense and it has no weight. And again, if they try to file a lawsuit on it, it's going to establish precedents where the entire system at play is going to be incriminated. And I'd say, hey, go for it. I believe the entire system should be incriminated for carrying out these actions. That being said, Governor Phil Murphy in New Jersey is saying the state cannot take any more illegal aliens, despite making a pledge as a sanctuary state. And this is becoming a trend, particularly among quote-unquote blue states. California, as an example, Martha's Vineyard is one of the funniest ones because it's where Barack Obama lives. They sent like 1 or 2 buses there, and they literally called in the military to deport people, to send them to other states, ironically committing the same act that Texas is accused of. They call in the military, they throw the people back on buses, and they send them to other states. If it's a scandal for Texas to do that, why is it not a scandal that Martha's Vineyard did that? That's a big question people should be asking. And again, lends to the funny thing we're going to see unfold if LA does try to sue Texas or file, whatever they plan to do. If they try to do something about it, it's going to create legal precedents to view these other issues through the lens of, even if they don't face repercussions for it. D.C., New York, now New Jersey, California, and other places as well, across the country. Many blue states are saying we can't take anymore. It's bankrupting the states. In New York, for example, where they have a law where they legally say that we will house everybody. Funny because I see so many homeless people. I wonder where their houses are. But they're saying they're going to house everybody, and what that really means is we're going to give free houses to illegal aliens. They're putting people up in like 4-star hotels. They're buying out whole hotels and spending tens of millions, like ridiculous amounts in very short amounts of time. The amount of money they're paying, it's like $7,000 a month per illegal alien, and they're coming here by the tens of thousands. What do you think is going to happen? That being said, in my personal opinion, given the policies of some of these individuals, hey, the less money they have, the less they can abuse the American citizen. So maybe it's good for all of us. I can only imagine what New York would be doing with all that money were it not for the illegal aliens, because I can say for sure it would not be benefiting the American people, given their track record. There's very little they do that actually has tangible benefit to like hardworking normal Americans. Typically they'll use the money to like abuse us in some way. And so, hey, maybe our amigos are helping us out. I'm gonna go high five them. I'll give one of those guys a high five when I'm walking to the bus station later. Anyways, that said, it's imploding, and it's quite the scene to watch. In particular, it's actually backfiring on the Biden administration because they're taking the heat for it. Here you have Fox News as well. Biden facing revolt from blue state Democrats over migrant crisis. The system's breaking. Now, one sec, let me get a drink. I'm drinking coffee, by the way. I've been on a thing. By those of you curious, I've been on a thing with jasmine green tea has been my big thing lately. But I have coffee this morning. Mm. Epic Times coffee for those curious. Now that being said, um, what you have happening right now is that essentially the policies are imploding. It's making Biden look bad. Even the Democrats are revolting against it. It reminds me of what's happening in China. A lot of the Chinese people call Xi Jinping the Great Accelerator, and it's funny because I kind of see Biden as being. I'm not comparing him to Xi Jinping in terms of like, torturing people and harvesting their organs. Don't get me wrong. But in terms of like his policies, he's accelerating the destruction of the system, in my opinion. To an extent, he's demonstrating what it looks like when you roll back everything Trump did, and when you bring in full, almost immediately, the extreme policies that I believe Hillary Clinton would have rolled out over the course of 4 or 8 years. I believe Obama would have rolled out had he somehow been in office longer. In other words, the trajectory of politics, the way it was going to head, where they were going to slow boil us into this state. I personally believe they tried to pretend that Trump didn't happen, and so they jumped the gun 4 years ahead of schedule and just did everything all at once. And Americans are like, oh my gosh, like, what is this madness? What are we dealing with here? Like, what is wrong with these people? Because they did it too fast. They did it so heavily and so heavy-handedly and so instantaneously that on day one, Biden comes in, just gets rid of all the stuff Trump did, like signs executive orders, does away with almost all of it, eliminates it, pulls back all those programs, and then finds the system just implodes, essentially. And then ironically starts trying to roll some of those things back, even including bringing back some of the Trump policies while claiming he did it, which is actually kind of funny if you think about it. But he's playing the same role, I think, that Xi Jinping is in that regard, the Great Accelerator. He's pushing things to an extreme, and what's happening is people are seeing what that extreme looks like, because it's not being done with finesse. It's not being done in a smooth way. It's being done in a very like ham-fisted type way. All right, folks, let's just jump over to Epoch TV, and we'll talk about Barack Obama and what Tucker Carlson is saying about him. We'll call this segment Barack Obama in Freaky Deaky Sex Land, because it is wild, folks. That said, we have kids who watch this show, so I don't want to get too far out. There's some crazy stuff going on with Barack Obama. Let's put it that way. That said, let's jump over to Epoch TV. We have an ad today, so let me show you our ad for that, then we'll jump over.
Experts agree. One of the best ways to protect against financial uncertainty is to diversify your portfolio. Learn how physical gold and silver can secure your retirement funds from today's economic challenges with a gold IRA from American Hartford Gold. You can safeguard your wealth with no penalties or taxes when you transfer your current qualifying retirement accounts. Call now and our precious metals specialists will send you a free information kit, no cost or obligation. American Hartford Gold, a trusted industry leader with an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, has a 5-star rating from thousands of happy clients. Whether you are getting physical precious metals in a gold IRA or delivered to your doorstep, we offer only the highest quality gold and silver. For your peace of mind, we also offer a no-fee buyback commitment, a low-price guarantee, along with free shipping and free insurance. So don't wait. Call the number on your screen today and secure your financial future.
All right, folks. Again, that's our ad sponsor. American Hartford Gold is back. That says jump over to Epoch TV, where we have a flash sale going on right now, 25 cents. Come join us. I will see you there, and we'll talk about Barack Obama